Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy. Also writing is Jennifer K. Lambert, author of epic fantasy romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Delicious. Today is Wednesday, July 8th. How are all of you? Things are good here. Beautiful weather. We've started to get some rain, hopefully, get more rain. That'll be awesome. Um, And we are a week away from the release of Among the Thorns. It comes out next Tuesday. So less than a week. Eek. Very excited for this book to come out. Yeah, it should be. I don't know. It's weird that it's here already. Uh, Big book launch down in Albuquerque at Books on the Bosque. Looking forward to that. And then I'll be at Tattered Cover in Denver and Steamy Lit Bookstore in Miami. And it should be super fun. And I'm going to spend an extra day in Miami with a friend that I haven't seen in a long time, Marcella Bernard. We talk online pretty much every day, but we have not seen each other in a long time. She lives in Florida, but she's making like a 4-hour drive to come to the Steamy Lit event and then also to hang out. So I think that'll be great. I'm excited about that. Um it was funny, sitting down this morning, I was thinking, what am I going to talk about on the podcast today? I don't know. I feel like things are fairly good here. We are not making much progress on the whole caretaker thing. Who knows how that's going to work? Um, but it's in process, and yeah, probably not a lot more to say about it than that. I was had my therapy appointment yesterday. Did I tell you I'm in therapy now? Hashtag. Um, and one of the things we were talking about is how I am at a point of big transition in my life where I'm trying to figure out just a lot of different things, like how my life has looked so far, the people who have been fixtures in my life so far, who've been very important to me, and who will be important to me in the future. What will my life look like, right? Like you think that things are going to go a particular way, and then like maybe your partner gets a chronic disease, and you know that it's going to change, that it's not going to keep going that way. But one of the things we were talking about was, while there is grief associated with this kind of loss, with this kind of transition, um, and my mom is in assisted living now, and she's still in great health, but that's going to be a transition also. But there are also exciting things about being where I'm at right now, and that I can think about what I want my life to look like going forward, that I can shape it to be what I want, which is interesting to think about, right? That like when you're young, you kind of make a lot of decisions based on the needs of the moment, right? Or the expectations of others. So, yeah, those are just things I'm thinking about. Oh, I was, yeah, sorry, I got distracted momentarily there. Um, yeah, when we're younger, we decide things based on what works. Like my partner now, David, we moved in together after we had been dating for um 6 months. We'd been dating, and we moved in together because we both had leases ending on our apartments. I was in grad school, he was divorced with two young kids. Uh, we had we both had to find a new place to live, and it made sense to, I remember going apartment hunting with and both of us looking, and finally we're like, we should just consolidate. We were at each other's houses all the time. overnight anyway. But and I mean, our relationship has lasted 35 years, so that's been a good thing. But was that a deliberate choice on my part of who I wanted to be with? Um, yeah. So these, it's interesting to think about what I want the rest of my life to look like and what that would be and who it would be with, and I don't know. Um, but yeah, I don't. I'm just like in a funny space with book release next week. Last year was such a big deal with Never the Roses coming out, and this feels like not as exciting, but I've been seeing a lot of really lovely reviews for it, and I'm really gratified by all of that, and it's wonderful. Um, I am 24,000 words into writing book three, and it's going quite well. It's kind of weird and twisty, but I think that's okay. Um, I'm doing this one just sort of more like I wrote the first one, um, kind of dreaming it along as uh, I'm trying to think of what the word is. I may be a little book brain at this point. Maybe that's what's going on with me. I'm also feeling like I'm going to have to stop because of book launch and book tour next week, right? So I'm sort of not going to be able to get really deep into that flow again until after I get back from book tour. But yeah, what's the I was making a reference to the dream and I can't even think of the word that I want on that. I think one thing that we think about a lot as writers is to what to keep in a book and what to take out, right? This sounds like such a simple thing that it's so straightforward. Of course, it's a question of what to put in and what to take out, but it is far from straightforward. It can be agonizing decisions. And I've heard lots of pat advice over the years on this topic. Um, it is advice that I think because it is such a complex topic that you either do like years of study or you get a very pat answer. I think that's what I'm trying to say here. Because I've heard things like, like the whole kill your darlings thing. I've heard if it occurs to you to take it out, you should. I have heard that you should never keep in the central idea that you started with. That if you started with this core concept, that you should make sure to take that out because, sorry, I was frothing at the mouth a little bit there, because you are somehow still too wedded to it. And that's like a kill your darlings kind of thing. I've legit heard that advice. What advice have I also heard along these lines? Um, it's kind of on the same thing of if you are bored writing it, the reader will be bored reading it, which I've talked about many times is a conflation that I really don't like that advice. None of this advice do I like, but this is all spurred by um, one of the people in my writing Discord. Uh, who was talking about that a beta reader of theirs suggested that there be an additional sex scene at the end of the book because the characters had all been through so much, and why not give them one more sex scene for fun? And the person was saying, well, but it would be extra, right? Because I think we worry about things being gratuitous, right? We worry about scenes being gratuitous, especially sex scenes, right? I don't really hear anyone complaining about books having gratuitous fight scenes, right? Whereas I know writers who very deliberately put in extra fight scenes to make it more exciting, right? But that's not gratuitous. It's always the sex scenes that are gratuitous. Do they have meaning to the story? Are they there for a good reason? It's sort of along the lines of this same advice that everything on the page, everything you put into the novel needs to be moving the story forward in some way. And you could sort of see the similarity in all of these little caches of advice that they fit into like one line, don't have gratuitous sex scenes, kill your darlings. If it occurs to you to take it out, you should. Everything in the book needs to drive the story forward. People like one line bits of advice. It's easy to give and easy to hear, um, not so easy to execute, right? Because the truth of the matter is that there is so much nuance, right? And of course, in today's era, we seem to be lacking nuance on a lot of things. But I think the idea that a sex scene can't be in there simply because it's fun, and I ended up replying, and I hope the person listening to this does not mind that I'm using them as an example. Uh, but I was like, well, really, is there such a thing as an extra sex scene? Why is this bad? Why not have it in there simply because it's fun? Why not have a celebrational sex scene at the end of the story to leave the reader on a great note? And something that I have learned, and maybe it's a short bit of advice, but one thing that I have learned over these many years of writing books is that the note that you leave the book on, what the final scene is, the final emotion of a book is very often what people will carry away with them. And that seems intuitive, but I don't think we always think about that because we think about the whole arc of the book. We think of the whole story and all of these things that happened. But whatever mood, image, theme, feeling you end the book on, that the reader closes the page on or turns off the Kindle on, this is what lingers, right? So why not put something in at the end that is um, lingering on a exciting, happy note, right? Um, but like, how do you decide what's gratuitous? The This advice that everything in the story needs to like drive the plot forward, drive character development, drive plot. I think one of the problems is that a whole lot of the advice out there is for newbie writers. It's for very beginning writers who are trying to figure things out. And one potential problem that writers have at the very beginning is bloat. Like there's just a lot of stuff in there that doesn't need to be in there. But newbie writers can also have the problem of not giving enough description, not filling in enough detail. Uh, I have given writing advice in the past where I suggested to someone that they write 5 sentences around each one sentence that they'd already written, because the huge challenge is getting what's in your head, getting this story that is so alive and fully fleshed, and these characters that are so real and vivid and full of human life in your head or monstrous life or what have you, getting those into words on the page that then translate back again to create that imagery in someone else's head. It's an amazing challenge because we don't have music like the movies or imagery like the movies. We're relying on these little blocky letters on the page to transmit these things. So finding the words to take what's in your head and put it back in someone else's head is a massive challenge. And sometimes people don't write enough words, right? Sometimes people write too many, but these are general pieces of advice that need to be tailored to specific situations, right? They need to be tailored to what is your problem. Do you tend to be overly concise, or do you tend to bloat? I had a writer friend who didn't set goals by word count. Instead, she set them by chapter, because she found if she tried to write a certain number of words, then she ended up with bloat. But for me, my revision process is almost never cutting. I rarely cut much. I'm always adding, because I tend to be a concise writer. And when I revise, when I go back through, I am layering things in and I am adding detail. And so, this idea also that like everything in the book has to drive the story forward or drive the character development forward, or that you can't have a gratuitous scene. Well, you can have stuff in there that's just for fun. I mean, that's the beauty of writing a novel. If you're writing a short story, you have very little real estate with which to work. But if you are writing a novel, yeah, you can spend some time on description. You can spend some time on what the trees look like and so forth. And I'm going to caveat this by saying that I know that my books read slow, and people comment. Reviewers comment on that all the time. They're like, well, this was a slower book. This is not what I write is not the crisp, jump from action scene to action scene, sex scene to sex scene, uh, which is very popular today. I saw something recently about the way that readers were taught in the 90s, that they were taught things like that they shouldn't have to see words that they didn't know, which explains to me a whole lot of why I see this. Well, there were words in this book I didn't know, and I had to look up, and it took me out of the story. Or they don't look it up, and then they don't know what it means. For me, part of the joy of reading is learning new words. Part of the joy is sinking in and going for a slower pace, and that's what I like to do. And I think, sure, a lot of people could um, come at my books. I know of a couple of editors out there who would say that my books would be, I don't know, more mainline popular or something like that, mainstream. I guess I want popular. If I picked up, if I got rid of some of the extraneous, but I like that stuff. That for me is what I want to have in the book, right? And so always these things come back to what you're trying to do, of course. And so my advice for this particular writer is, if you want to put in a celebrational sex scene, then great. But worrying about it being extra or gratuitous, I don't know. Is that really a consideration? I think that very rarely do anyone but the people who are kind of anti sex on the page are going to complain about there being more, right? Why not have them? It's joyful and fun and sexy, and we like those things. Instead, cut out a gratuitous fighting scene. On that note, I will head out and do some work. I will talk to you all next week when Among the Thorns has launched. If you haven't pre-ordered, please pre-order. It'll be in the bookstores. Um, and I hope you like it. Slow paced, what have you. Uh, no gratuitous fight scenes. All right. I'll talk to you all next Wednesday. You all take care. Bye bye.